Anjo had found herself a stop by the edge of the roof where she could sit alone and think. Cheong-san had been adamant that they all stick together, but everyone had simply stated they were on the roof and none of the zombies could get up to them. He had reluctantly let it go as they were all tired, as sleep still didn't come easy because of their current situation even if they were somewhere relatively safe. She looked at Cheong-san and Na-Yeon, who were cuddled up on the other side of the roof. Na-Yeon was sleeping, her head rested on Cheong-san's shoulder as she could see his head dip, constantly fighting to stay awake. They looked good together. Which was odd because a few days ago she would have remotely matched them together. Hyo-ryung maybe, but not Na-Yeon. She glanced over at Namra and Soo-hyuk. They had their hands held together as they stared out into nothingness. Anjo couldn't stand to look at them too long, it hurt, so she turned her sights on the rest of the group. Junyoung and Woo Jin were asleep using Daisu as a pillow. The trio was always amusing, to say the least. Hyo-ryung and Ji-minutes were huddled up not too far from the trio of boys in the fire as they slept. She heard something, a subtle yet definite sound, and then moments later felt a presence beside her that made her heart freeze. The zombies couldn't climb up here, right? There was no way they could, she asked herself as she slowly turned to face the figure. She let out an ear-piercing scream as she scrambled away, awakening everyone, because right beside her, after having climbed up to the roof, was none other than Gwen-am. His face had bruises and tears from their previous encounter but seemed fine. As if he healed. But the smile that was on his face as he saw the rest of the group sent shivers up all of their spines. Everyone woke up at her screams, scrambling to get their weapons as they shook off their sleep. Namra and Soo-hyuk were already at one side ready to attack him with their weapons drawn, although Namra was having a hard time summoning that power as before. Cheong-san and the other boys joined them in front as Ji-minutes. Na-Yeon and Hyo-ryung stayed at the back of the group but with their weapons still drawn. "You stupid idiots, making me climb up this building like you can get away from me. Especially you, Cheong-san. I'm not letting you die until I take your eye like you took mine." The group stood fearful but ready as Gwen-am continued on his maniacal monologue about how he was going to enjoy eating all of them. But then his gaze settled on Namra as he let out a small smile. "You're like me. Join and we could rule all of this." But Namra just scoffed at him, which just made him scowl. "Stupid bitch, even right now you still think that you're better than me. How is that hunger?" he asked with a smile on his face, because now that he had some time to think about it, he was feeling very hungry, wanting to eat someone, but he hadn't been able to find anyone to eat in the building, only zombies. He was feeling very hungry, and since she was like him, he bet that she was feeling the same, feeling like eating your little friends. Yet, he saw the momentary lapse in her expression that brought a smile to his face. "Shut up," shouted Soo-hyuk. "I'm going to enjoy this," Gwen-am said before he charged at the group, but he didn't catch them off guard as they responded to his attack in kind. The group began engaging in a melee with Gwen-am as they attacked with weapons, and Gwen-am some things attacked with weapons but mostly his fist. They kept attacking him, noticing Gwen-am was moving in inhuman ways, and they could only guess that he had gone to learn about his powers after he saw Namra. They kept on knocking him back, but he responded with more against them as he didn't even seem fazed by the damage he was also taking. Namra saw Gwen-am trying to bite Daisu, who was pushing him back, and rushed forward, blocking his bite with her own forearm. He bit into her and she grunted as she fought the urge to scream out and kicked him back. He stared her down with a growl, mouth covered in her blood, as the two charged at each other again. This battle was different. Namra could feel she was on the edge of getting her powers back, but that wasn't enough, and Gwen-am threw her around like a ragdoll, beating with attacks that would have broken any normal human. He threw her to the side as he stood up to face Cheong-san. He charged at him and surprisingly Cheong-san didn't seem fazed as he charged back. They started fighting with each other with Gwenom mostly toying with him because he was to take his time. But as he was distracted he felt a pole stab through him and was enraged. He made to bite Cheong-san but he quickly put up his makeshift forearm guards that warded off the bite much to Gwenom's annoyance. Namra lay on the ground recovering. She had never been like that in her life. She had never been hit or fought at all. It felt as if she had been hit by a truck all over. But as she lay on the ground watching as her friends kept on fighting Gwenom even if they were outmatched, she felt that push in her again. She staggered up to her feet shakily. She could still feel the beating she had taken but could also feel some of it. Healing? Her sights locked onto Gwenom as her eye shifted before she charged with a roar. Gwenom turned to see her charging as the two quickly met in a test of strength pushing against each other, but this time they were closer to being equal. Namra's face was hard focused as she did her best to push Gwenom back and he seemed only further amused by her power but was struggling against her as well. Look at this, look at what you can do. Pretty impressive, right? There's still a choice to join me, princess. Maybe I won't punish you too harshly. That made Namra spit in his face, further enraging him. Gwenom snarled as he started pushing against her angrily and she knew he would win but she had something he didn't, people on her side. Suhayok bashed the side of Gwenom's head with his bat eliciting a sticking crunch as his strength faltered giving Namra the upper hand. Cheong-san joined in with the rest of the group as they started attacking him from all sides with even Na-Yeon, G-Minutes and Hyo-Rung joining in on the assault. Namra, who had been pushing against Gwenom, was now angering herself so that he couldn't escape as he tried desperately to defend himself from the onslaught of attacks. She saw her opening and could already feel he was significantly weakened and went to kick in the side of his knee as it buckled. Her strength had broken the leg but she wasn't going to stop there as she twisted in his arms jerking them with all her power breaking them. Gwenom let out a scream headbutting her and causing her to stumble back. He shakily got back to his one still working leg but was flattered as Suhayok attacked his other knee, however falling to shatter it because he lacked the super strength. Gwenom charged at him wanting to bite him as they hit the edge of the roof. Suhayok was pushing against Gwenom's shoulders trying his best to keep him away and before any of them knew what was happening, Gwenom was sent hurtling over the edge. He was screaming all the way down as Suhayok stood there on the edge frozen before his screams abruptly stopped. Suhayok turned to see Namra standing in front of him battered and bruised but with a small smile on her face. They were both breathing heavily, tired as everyone probably felt and looked, but he rushed to her hugging her tightly. She more than surprised him when she hugged him back immediately. Na-Yeon went to Cheong-san, who had also been beaten in the melee being Gwenom's main target, and saw that he was fine. She embraced him nonetheless because that had been terrifying. After a few moments of collecting themselves, everyone in the group made their way over to the edge of the roof looking down into the darkness below, the ground so darkened that they couldn't see Gwenom's form anywhere. But they hoped that this time he was gone.